the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. The Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast is a production of Divorced Girl Smiling, where every show is 30 minutes aimed to empower you, help you feel validated and understood, and connect you with some of the best divorce professionals in the industry. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling as you join us right now for the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Before we get started, I want to tell you about two divorce attorneys who I think are wonderful. The first one is Jessica Zajura of Zajura Family Law. Jessica has been a practicing divorce attorney for 15 years out of Maryland. Jessica is wonderful. She blends fierce advocacy with a deep dedication to fairness and the best possible post-divorce outcome for her clients. Whether that means litigation, mediation, or negotiation, Jessica is committed to empowering her clients, protecting children, and providing the tools for families to move on in a healthy way. If you want to learn more about Jessica, you can find her at zajurafamilylaw.com. I also want to tell you about Joy Farrell, a divorce attorney in the Atlanta, Georgia area. She's the founder of the Farrell firm. Joy Farrell describes herself as a person with extremely high standards and expectations. Slow-moving cases, ignoring clients, and charging a lot of money for poor service were some of the things she saw when she was working at her first job as a lawyer. So her firm is completely opposite of that. If you want to learn more about the Farrell firm, you can go to farrellfirm.com. I also want to tell you about a wonderful real estate agent named Shannon Lindstrom. Shannon is a certified divorce real estate expert out of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And Shannon is wonderful. She is so passionate about helping people facing divorce in buying or selling their homes. Really, Shannon has so much experience in this area. She recognizes the complexity and the stress that clients are going through during divorce, and I would highly recommend working with her. You can find Shannon at mndivorcerealestateexpert.squarespace.com, and you can find all three of these wonderful divorce professionals at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. I do a lot of writing. And I write about divorce a lot, as everybody knows. And a lot of times I'll be writing the word mediation and I'll write meditation. And a lot of times I'll be writing the word meditation and I'll write mediation. And they're very, very different, but they are remarkably aligned, says my guest for this podcast. And today we want to talk about how mediation can help you. No, see, I already made a mistake. How meditation can truly help you with mediation and the similarities that the two share. My guest is Erica Sparrow, divorce attorney, mediator, and founder of her practice, Sparrow Law, in Indiana, South Bend, actually, which I've been there. Hi, Erica.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast and for writing this wonderful article for Divorce Girl Smiling called Mediation versus Meditation, Not as Unrelated as You Might Think. So the first question I have for you is, are you a meditator? Do you meditate?
I do meditate. To be honest, I'm newer to the practice. And in fact, I just bought myself a meditation tool from Amazon. It's really fun, and I've been having a lot of fun practicing with it. And what it is a headband, and it actually can sense your brain waves, and it will tell you if you're getting in that Zen spot that you need to be in to relax, or if you're having that monkey mind. So it's a good tool to figure out if you're meditating the right way. So it's always a good thing to try to do it, set some time aside, but if you really can learn how to meditate correctly, the benefits are immense, and that's what I'm doing, so as I learn, I will be sharing that with my clients as well.
Wow. Okay, so that's interesting because I'm kind of a new meditator as well. If you would have asked me 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, if somebody would have said, "Do you meditate?" I would have been like, no." I really have opened my mind because I think it is so beneficial, and the benefits are countless, from physical, emotional, and if someone's going through a divorce, I would say meditation is truly, truly essential in keeping a good frame of mind, staying calm, making good decisions. So, was that part of the reason that you decided to get into meditation, because you felt like it could also help your clients? Like, what made you do it?
Well, I will tell you that the atmosphere of litigation, especially surrounding, family law, adversarial family law litigation, where we're pitting families against one another, and there never truly is a winner. That was incredibly stressful to me my entire career. Um, and in fact, when I first started practicing, when I would go in front of a judge, I would have to wear a scarf on my neck because I would be just broken out. So since then, I've gotten much better at litigating. However, I won't do it anymore. I got into meditation because the climate of the adversarial family law litigation was detrimental to my own mental health. I was dealing with clients who were in a state of dysregulation themselves, and I needed to be grounded if I was going to be helping them through this, awful situation. So, in doing that, I found that meditation was a way that really put my mind in a place that I was able to better interact with my clients who were in that dysregulated state.
Okay, this is how I feel about meditation, and tell me if you agree. I feel like when people meditate, it's like taking vitamins for your brain. So all day long, we're working, we're under stress, we're getting emails from people. Maybe we don't like a lot of them, stresses us out, bills, and then especially, of course, divorce. And like you said, being in litigation. And our brain is becoming overloaded and really like tired. And when you're meditating, you're giving your brains, like, you're giving it vitamins. You're giving it this chance to go to another place and rest and become rejuvenated, so that when these hard things hit you, like you're in the middle of a divorce and you found out your ex has a girlfriend already, or you get this attorney bill, and or your ex is suing for full custody, you can handle it better because your brain is better equipped, because it's better rested, it's healthier. That's kind
Exactly. It's a matter of being mindful, and I think mindfulness is a very general word that we throw around, without really thinking about what it means. And to be mindful just means that we are selecting what we are focusing our thoughts on, and that's exactly what mediation or what meditation is
of.
about. It's a practice. So that's why you get better at it and why I am practicing, with my new tool myself.
Okay, so, and by the way, we should count how many times we mess those 2 words up in the podcast. We've already done it 3 times. Okay, so you write in the article, what's fascinating is how mindfulness practices such as mediation are becoming more mainstream and integral to modern approaches like meditation and no. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I did. All right. So basically what I'm asking you is, do you view mediation as a form of meditation?
I think that the biggest similarity of the two is that they are both holding space for you to be mindful and make better decisions. So while you are meditating, you are holding space for your mind and you're training it to be selective in what you're going to allow to pass through it. Same thing with with mediation. While you're in mediation, that's a time for you to pause and reflect and be mindful about how we're going to first analyze a proposal and how we're going to respond to that proposal and if we're going to accept it.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I am here with Erica Sparrow, divorce attorney from South Bend, Indiana, who's been practicing since 2013. And Erica and I are talking about meditation and mediation. And of course, we keep messing up the two words. Very similar, one letter off, but there's a lot of similarities, and they're both extremely beneficial. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about these two practices, but also we're going to get into what specifically is stressful in a divorce and how to handle it. We'll be right back. Trina Knudsen has a passion for helping kids. She's held so many jobs, including Child in Need of Care Division for her district's attorney's office, foster care social worker, juvenile intake counselor, and more. So when I heard about her new co-parenting program, BEH2O, I knew it was going to be something special. BEH2O is aimed to empower, strengthen, and transform co-parenting relationships. It's an online course for parents who want what's best for their kids, but also who want to have better post-divorce lives and a better relationship with their ex. Can't say enough about this program. You can find it by going to thelaneproject.com. I also want to tell you about a wonderful divorce coach named Darlene Taylor. Darlene is a divorce and co-parenting coach. Darlene got divorced several years ago, and she is an amazing person who wrote this book called It's Not About Us, a co-parenting survival guide to taking the high road. Darlene aims to help her clients become grounded and live their best lives before, during, and after divorce. She offers one-on-one coaching as well as short-term and long-term coaching programs. If you want to learn more about Darlene, you can find her at darlenetaylor.com. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today we're talking about meditation and mediation. One letter difference in the words, and they have a lot of similarities, even though they're two totally different things. My guest is Erica Sparrow, divorce attorney, founder of Sparrow Law in South Bend, Indiana. And Erica, before we continue the podcast, I just want to say, I want to read a quote that I read of yours that I loved so much that I put it on Divorce Girl Smiling. You wrote, "Families don't need sharks. They need solutions. I care about your family's future and believe in fostering harmony, not division. Before you hire a shark out of fear, let's talk. I'll show you a path to peace that truly serves your loved ones." I mean, I absolutely love that and wish you would have been around in 2008 when I got divorced. So tell me why I love that you said people turn to sharks because of fear. And
Mhm.
why is that not the right thing to do?
Well, that's not the right thing to do because a shark isn't going to talk you out of it. And by talk you out of it, I mean um, draining your resources, be that emotional, financial, physical, spiritual. And that's what the divorce process does automatically. And these aggressive shark lawyers aren't doing anything that the law doesn't provide that they can do. That is a very common and probably the most known way to divorce is, a court battle, an ugly court battle. But that's not the only way to do it. And that's not the only kind of attorney that's out there. And if you initially go to a shark, there's no turning back. If you talk to me first, you can always go and decide to hire a more aggressive attorney, and I can get you to all kinds of attorneys. So you shouldn't go to a shark because you can't undo the behaviors that are encouraged by that kind of attorney in the very beginning.
Now, I want to tell my listeners, though, if you're sitting here thinking, well, my husband hired a shark, so I need to hire a shark. I have in front of me some testimonials that for Erica, and all of these women, it's not like you don't get stuff done. One woman said, like, "I was owed all this money, Erica got it for me, Erica is a great listener, Erica will give you the straight up facts, she won't lie, she's in it for you." Like, these women, it sounds like you get things done for them. So, I guess the point in me telling my listeners this is whether it's Erica or another divorce attorney, just because you don't have somebody who's a shark, and if you hire somebody who is into mediation and a peaceful, way of divorcing, doesn't mean you're not going to get what you want. So, in fact, you have a better chance of getting what you want if you go about it in an amicable way.
Yes, and I will tell you that, especially in talking to my colleagues about the way that I practice law and the way that I'm actually trying to pioneer more here in Indiana, which is collaborative law, they often ask me, well, I don't understand the difference. We still settle 95 plus percent of our cases, Erica. So, what's the difference with collaborative law? The difference with collaborative law in the way a peacemaking attorney is going to help you is that from the very beginning, we're starting off with the premise that families are not lawsuits and that there is no winner or loser in your family. And we don't negotiate from rights based places. I don't necessarily want my clients who could be so concerned about their rights. I want them to be concerned about their interests. Their rights are minimum. Your interests, once we sit down together and get into that serenity space, I talk about from Stu Webb, the founder of collaborative law. Um, Opportunities appear that never would have even occurred to the room had we not slowed down and done this in a more peaceful way. And so while the shark is going to take you through the process and be very aggressive and maybe make you feel happy, they'll send some emails that will make your spouse's blood boil, make my blood boil too. I have to, internalize that, and that's why I have to meditate. Um, so we'll get those emails and we will get those aggressive tactics, and your spouse is getting that bill, by the way, for those. But ultimately, our cases, and even the sharks agree, are going to end up likely at mediation and with a settlement. So why don't we start from the very beginning with the premise that we're going to use our resources to make the very best settlement that we can? Um, so as far as the collaborative law and is using a shark attorney and using a collaborative law attorney, I'm going to be preparing you. The shark is going to be just preparing you to argue. I'll be preparing you to divorce in a healthy way that will keep your family intact afterwards.
I love this. And also, I want to tell people who are listening, this is just the way I feel. You can still mediate. Erica is not saying that you have to be best friends to be able to collaborate or mediate your divorce. People who can't stand each other and who have so much resentment, anger, bitterness, they can still get a peaceful divorce because it's better for them, it's better financially, it's better for the kids. And then guess what? A lot of that anger and resentment is going to fade a lot quicker if you mediate or have a collaborative divorce than if you went down the litigation path.
Exactly. The other issue that I was seeing commonly in my practice was that the aggressive tactics that were driven by, the unknowns and this fear-based place from my clients were eating up a large portion of the marital estates of the parties. So you get to mediation, and I have my asset liability spreadsheet, and I can see what the underlying value of the marital estate is. Oftentimes, it's not a huge amount. Um, but when I look comparatively, well, you've spent this much on me, and I know your spouse has spent, probably more, honestly, on their side. Um, so out of the liquid portion of your marital estate, sometimes I'd seen them spend half for no results, and that's just not acceptable. And it's time that we start being honest with our clients about all of the available options and how starting this from the beginning, not encouraging our clients to treat this like an adversarial lawsuit, but more like a problem that we have to resolve on our own, then it would benefit everyone. You can go to court and you can have a judge give you an answer, but that doesn't solve your problem. It's an answer, it's not a solution.
And it's an answer you might not want, and then you're stuck with then you're stuck with the judge telling you what your custody schedule is, and your judge doesn't even know you, just wants you guys to be out of court. No one can make a decision, so guess what? I'll make it for you. And that's not a good way to get divorced.
That's the other problem I'm finding is that um, people have a complete misconception of what the court can and can't do, the limits of the court. I tell people, well, the court can't wave a magic wand and make your co-parent a reasonable, nice person. He wasn't that way throughout your marriage. Um, and the court can't, what's the court going to do if you pay a bunch of money and we go argue about the fact that your spouse is 15 minutes late to an exchange commonly? The court's gonna smack him on the hand and say, Come on, dude, be on time." But ultimately, these aren't court issues. These are family issues, and to present them to the court and to pretend like they're court issues is just silly.
Well, it's all driven by anger. And I want to bring up the parent who's 15 minutes late for every exchange. That's the kind of thing that can be sorted out if the parents are willing to go to co parenting classes. There are co parenting coaches that will help you, even if your ex is so difficult and says, I'm never going to a co parenting coaching session with you. You can go yourself and learn how to handle it and learn how to live a happy, healthy post-divorce life, even with a difficult person. So that's a way better way to spend your money than trying to be validated by a judge who, frankly, you're never going to get the validation.
Exactly. And the other problem is that oftentimes my clients don't even know the name of their judge. And even if they do, they haven't even tried to look up to see anything about this person. Yet they trust them to make decisions about their children. And they trust that this person is going to make a better decision than what they and their co parent could come up with on their own. And I think if everyone just paused and really thought about that, um, be mindful about it, then divorce would look different. And I'm really working hard on, especially here in my county, talking openly about to my clients about that fact that, um, you want to go to court to have your day in court, and that's not what it looks like. And you want this person to make decisions for you because you're assuming that they're going to make a good ethical, positive decision for your finances and your family. Oftentimes, that's just not the case.
Okay, but Erica, here's what I see. It's not that people think the judge is going to make this really great decision and they have trust in the judge. This is how I see it. Tell me if you agree. Somebody is so pissed at their ex and they want the judge to know what he did. They want the judge to know that he was a terrible husband for 15 years. He never did anything for the kids. He's not paying for anything. He's abusive. He's this, he's that. He's a narcissist. So, what they want from the judge is their fantasy almost is for the judge to say, like, oh my gosh, that's awful. Well, you know what? Because of that, I'm going to grant your wife sole custody and you have to give her $10,000 a month for the rest of her life. Like, that's the ultimate fantasy. And what we're trying to tell the listeners here is that that is never going to happen in a million years. So you're going to walk away disappointed, not feeling heard. Like, that's all I got for all this money. I'm not being heard. And I think, Erica, what I'm trying to tell people is if you have a collaborative divorce or you get divorced via mediation, you're going to be heard a heck of a lot more, like 100 times more.
Yes. In fact, I just did a mediation in my office just last week. And in recognizing, given my holistic approach, that some things need to be discussed and worked out before we are in a space where we can even begin to negotiate any of the other substantive, even legal points. So yeah, it's not uncommon for people, for instance, during a separation to still be intimate with one another, whatever that looks like. Communication too much, emotional, um, but something like that is what came up, and that's not something that would have been relevant in court, or that you would ever get to talk about. So that was something that I talked to the other attorney about and said, "Hey, I think it would be helpful if we all sat in the same room and talked about the fact that he's still, telling her that he wants to be with her." So that's
Oh.
not a relevant fact in court. That's something we can talk about when we all sit together and say, "Okay, well, that's how we're going to handle this," and then now let's get to the actual, legal issues. So instead of just throwing our hands up and leaving.
Wow. I mean, I have never even thought about that. What a smart way to approach things. Because how is somebody expected to sit there and make decisions when their heart is breaking and all they can think about is, I don't even want this divorce? Well, let's get that out of the way. And maybe the person needs to hear, look, you don't have a choice. I want the divorce. And then well, then we have to stop sleeping together or you have to move out. Okay, let's make sure that, as of the first of the month, you have another place to go because I can't make these decisions objectively knowing that you're still sort of half in the relationship.
Exactly. And here in Indiana, uh, I have not found anybody who has ever heard of discernment counseling. In fact, I hadn't heard of it until I joined your network and thought, oh, that's amazing. That's exactly. I can't tell you how often people come to me and just out of anger, and want to like start the process, and I can tell immediately if someone's having a consult with me and they're way too hot, or if it's someone who's ready to actually take some reasoned action.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because we should probably explain what discernment counseling is, because you're right. It's such a perfect exercise, if you will,
Well,
to
and by
go
the time
through.
you get to mediation, by the time if I'm your mediator, by the time you get to me, you're at the end of the road. You have a trial scheduled or there will be one scheduled. So I'm like your last stop. So the fact that that wasn't, addressed until then, was kind of silly. In the meantime, there was a whole year or whatever that had gone by where they weren't speaking. Sometimes people don't even know that they can speak to each other during their divorce. It's not uncommon for people to, well, we didn't talk, we didn't really think we could while the divorce was pending. So, mhm,
Well, when you're getting divorced, I went through a divorce in 2008. I felt like I was on trial. I had 2 young kids, and I thought my whole mindset was like, "Don't screw up. Don't do anything," because we were so angry at each other. I was afraid that he would try to take the kids away from me if I did something that was like, I don't know, really bad. So you feel like you're being watched
you
almost.
know what you know what I've noticed too is that when you're acting out of a fear-based place, for instance, someone is accusing my client of being, manic or not in control of her emotions, um, and then something will happen and we'll be in court and or like in a meeting and all of a sudden he will say something and she just loses her emotions and does exactly what he said that was occurring. So she was afraid because he was saying this, and that ultimately ended up driving the behavior. So, again, that's another kind of wrapping that back up to mindfulness and how that's so important through this process and something you're not going to get from a shark attorney.
Absolutely. And I just want to explain what discernment counseling is in case you're interested. Not you, Erica. I know you know what it is. Um, Discernment counseling is a 1 to 5 session process where you go to a third party neutral who talks to both of you separately most of the time. And the two of you then hopefully come out of the session or sessions figuring out if you want to try to work on the marriage, get divorced, or do nothing for right now and just kind of sit with it for a few weeks. How was that? Do you think that's what it is?
Exactly. And I think that's really important to talk more about, and I hope that becomes more widespread. It's not uncommon for people to come to me, be ready to start a divorce. They think when they're really not. Um, and I will tell people I'm not in the business of getting people divorced who don't want to get divorced. There's plenty of people out there to get divorced to go around. So I do think that, having that discernment and doing that in the beginning, why, go through the misery of a year before you address that. And also, there's a difference between a legal divorce and then the process of your divorce and what that will look like. I mean, even after a final decree, there's often things that need to be wrapped up, refinancing of mortgages, and then not to mention you're going to have to co-parent. Even after your children are adults, we still have grandchildren. We're going to have all kinds of happy life events that we hopefully can, not make terrible for our children, and not to mention the attachment wounds that we'll give them that will be generational as well.
Erica, I just love this. I first want to tell my listeners I want to give you a referral if you're looking for a discernment counselor, and I would talk to Dr. Jenny Wright. She's a Divorce Girl Smiling trusted professional. You can find her on divorcedgirlsmiling.com. She has dedicated a very large part of her therapy practice to discernment counseling, which, by the way, is not marriage therapy. It's totally different. We're not trying to fix your marriage. We're trying to figure out if you should get divorced or not. But on that note, Erica, I have loved this conversation, and I truly love the fact that you recommend meditation and mediation. I got that right. So thank you so much for taking time to be on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you. I really have enjoyed being part of the network. I have met so many amazing professionals, and I really look forward to see who else gets added to the bunch.
Aw, well, thank you for saying that. And Erica is talking about the Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals, everything from lawyers, mediators, therapists, discernment counselors, financial advisors, real estate agents, and more. And you can find them all, including Erica, at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. But I want to tell you, you can find Erica on her website, which is sparrowlaw.com. Is that right?
You
Hold on.
got it.
Let's make sure.
Sparrow like the bird.
Okay, but it's spelled Speraw, Spira Law. Sorry, sparrowlaw.com. Again, Erica, thank you so much for taking time today.
Thank you.
And to my listeners, thank you so much for listening today, and we will talk to you real soon.